All right, ladies and gentlemen, the sales champions of the world, the heavyweight title is on the line today. Breakfast with Bill, Matt, Bill, gentlemen, how's your morning going?
Pretty good. Thanks, Evan. Appreciate that intro. Never know what's going to come out of Evan's mouth, but it always delights me. So welcome. Good morning, Matt. Happy Tuesday to you.
Big day for you.
Big day for me. 19 years of wedded bliss today. So happy anniversary to my wife, Susie, my bride of 19 years. It's been great. I certainly don't deserve her. As I often say, I'd be under a bridge or in prison without her, and that's not a joke. That's pretty legit.
I'd agree with that.
I didn't want to say that when you were getting ready to sip something because I knew you'd have a comment. So happy anniversary. It's found out as we were coming on the air today, it's also Luther Vandross' 70th birthday. I don't know if there's any coincidence between the romance of my marriage and Luther Vandross' silky voice or not, but good to share that. So welcome to everyone. Appreciate you guys being with us again on another Tuesday. Today we're going to talk about authenticity in selling. It's not something I hear a lot, right? I think that actually most people would attribute or associate selling with inauthenticity and think that you can't be successful by being authentic. We actually believe you can be very successful by being authentic, and we actually believe there's no other way to be successful but to be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
So you agree?
Absolutely.
Because you seem fake. But, there's a gentleman out there. There's all the sales gurus, all the people that have books. And, Matt and I were horrible at marketing. We just service our clients and, think we're doing good things there. And our clients tell us we're helping them. We focus more, it seems, on that than we do on the marketing and the publication. And we end up being the shoemaker's kid in that regard. But, there's one gentleman in particular that Matt and I enjoy watching videos of, not because we learn from them, but because we're just amazed at how fake they seem.
Mm-hmm.
And we're amazed at how many people have come to us over the years and said, have you seen this guy's videos? It's incredible. You see his energy and how he does these things. And we started watching the videos, and, this gentleman actually brags about how he's manipulating people into doing things that they're not ready to do. He oftentimes will have colleagues and coworkers videotape him getting on live calls and saying, you know who this is, and making people make decisions quickly. And it shocks us how inauthentic he is. Guess how many YouTube subscribers he has? I shared this with you yesterday.
A lot.
1.5 million. He has 1.5 million YouTube subscribers that are watching his videos. I'm shocked. But do you think that all 1.5 million people want to be like him? Or do you think that there's 1.5 million people seeking success and just don't yet know that they can be successful by being themselves?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Well, what I always say is if it's not natural, then it's not replicable, right? And the values in your life, does your selling system hold those same values? And if they don't, it's going to be very hard to be successful. And I think that's why so many people are drawn to our process, because we allow you to be yourself, right? We're not trying to create a second-rate version of you or myself, and there's innate goodness in being an individual because you come with unique backgrounds, you come with different life experiences, and that's all great. We view sales more as project management. We kind of put the train tracks on the sales process and the goalpost, so to speak, of what information we need to get, where we need to stay, mutual commitments, timelines, expectations, because it allows you to be you.
It's funny you say that because, Matt and I are very different people. Very different. Matt's much more intense, I think, than I am. Matt's much more laser focused than I am. Susie always teases me about being able to talk to a tree. Some days I get the tree to talk back, right? I just walk in a room and talk to anybody I can. Matt is very reserved that way. He's much more introverted. Matt and I are very, very different people. Yet we follow the same process and have the same outcomes because we go about the process and we execute the process as us, as individuals. by being the best versions of ourselves. Matt is not a second-rate version of me, and I am certainly not a second-rate version of Matt. So, there's great importance in that note to remember that you can have great success by being you, right? Just be you, and be you living inside the process. Be you living inside of those commitments that we know we need to make. But that's the golden question so many people in sales struggle with, and that is, can I be successful by being me? And I think it's that fear or that lack of clarity, right? Or that comes from a lack of results that leads people to think I need to be someone else. I need to adopt some other system, or I need to adopt someone else's way of behaving and their methodology. And I can tell you, inauthentic people, if you're copying inauthentic people, and you want to inauthentically be someone who is inauthentic, that's not going to be a good outcome, right? It's just not going to be a good outcome. Be authentic. Be you. You can be successful by being you. So how can we be authentic in selling? How do we be authentic in sales? Well, we don't think it's much different than being authentic in life, right? How are you authentic in life? I think people who are genuinely authentic, that are able, and by the way, why is it so important to be authentic? Because that's how we connect with others. That's how others are able to connect with you as a real person. And others who, when we see people who we would label authentic, I think it's because they do a couple things. The first is they always put the other first, right? They usually don't put their needs first. They put the other's needs first. They're mindful of the other. They're mindful of the other's current situation. You think about emotional intelligence. That's essentially what we're talking about, is having a high level of emotional intelligence, recognizing the impact of our behaviors on others. Yeah, I feel like I'm just talking.
I'm listening.
Oh, okay. So
different personality styles coming
That's
out
right.
right here, right? He's talking to a tree right now.
That's right. I always feel bad when I walk into meetings. I walked into a 4:00 meeting yesterday, an internal meeting at 4:35. And I just started talking over it. I was like, I feel like I'm dominating the meeting. And
We have to say, oh, no, Bill, it's fine.
Thanks, Matt. So, but, authentic people have high emotional intelligence. They put the others first. They, I think great salespeople are able to help others identify what their needs are and help them focus on their needs. It's not about coming in and pushing, right? Inauthentic people do something. They promote their product. They promote their service. Great salespeople who are authentic and have that patience and have that confidence and that comfort, they're able to help others identify their needs and then find paths to solving those needs.
Well, how do they do that? They do that through listening and asking great questions. Just the other day, I had an experience, not to get too deep into the weeds, but it's been a long, drawn-out process for a vendor in my personal life that I'm locked into. I need to use, and unfortunately, there aren't any other options. So I'm backed in a corner, and I'm pretty understanding when it comes to other people selling to me. I often like to probably listen a ton and give advice afterwards, but I don't mind when salespeople call me. But long story short, this drama's been going on for about a year. We hit coronavirus, and they couldn't get a contract over. And they couldn't get a technician out. So, okay, great. I get it. So all I was trying to do was pay the bill and sign a contract to keep continuation of this particular service. So I thought it was just bizarre that here's me trying to pay the organization. So finally I get a call from a salesperson, and, I vented a little bit, and here he is saying, hey, I get it. I understand. And I said, wow, this is the first person in a year from this organization that, number one, picked up a call, is listening, and is sort of siding with me. And I felt great. So he kept listening and affirming. And then at the end of it, he's just like, okay, yeah, so sign here. And I was like, wait, what? Sign? Didn't you hear everything I just said? And, I'm not going to sign until you send a technician out. And, yeah, no, I understand. I get it. Cool. We're just going to need you to sign. And he did it again. And, so we know what inauthentic selling feels like, right?
We've all
Because,
experienced that.
but what is it? It's putting quota ahead of the person's needs, and it's very tough to fake it.
Yeah. And it's putting policy ahead of the other person's
Yeah.
needs. It's their quota. Remember, our quota is not their problem. And, I was sharing with you guys recently my struggles of furniture and refrigerators and everything. Well, going through it again, I'm having shoulder surgery next week, and I needed to get a recliner. And I went to one furniture store that was open and asked the person, I was like, hey, you need to get a reclining couch because I need left control, so it has to be a couch. Right shoulder surgery. I said, can I buy one of these these recliners, reclining couches off your floor and have it delivered before April 29th? And the salesperson said, oh, no, we can't do that. Those are floor models. We can't sell them. I was like, I understand that that's typically what happens, but I'm in need, right? Like I'm having this problem. I know my problem's not your problem, but I have a problem. And she's like, yeah, sorry, we just can't do that. So I went to Potomac Furniture, and I met with Sarah, the owner of Potomac Furniture here in Pittsburgh. And I explained to her what was going on, and she was like, oh, that's bad. She said, because like these are back ordered, and I'm not sure when we're going to be able to get one in. Hold on. So she goes and talks to her son, who's her partner in the business, and they discovered that the couch that I want to buy off their floor isn't going to be manufactured again until May 29th. I'm asking to have it delivered by April 29th. So they're going to go a whole month. If they would sell me this, they would have a whole month before it's even made again, let alone when they can get it. And she looked at me and she goes, yeah, I'm doing it. You need it. I'm doing it. She didn't put policy. She didn't put her needs. So she's going to sit without this model on her floor for a month that she actually needs as a floor model to sell to other people. She put my needs ahead of hers. Do you think I'm going to go anywhere else when I need something? Right? Like, would I ever walk into another furniture store and price shop? No.
And then think of the network effect of you telling that story now to all of our loyal viewers and how those things kind of permeate throughout your network.
Yeah, and then you think about the negative of someone who won't help you and how that goes. And Matt's story about the inauthentic salesperson and my story about the inauthentic person at Lowe's that didn't care about me and how many people we've told that one about, right? And that's the brand damage that happens to you and the brand elevation that happens to you by being authentic. We have one of our, this is not boastful in any way, but we have one of our largest clients to this day because when they first moved into our building, he asked me where a dumpster was. And I was like, yeah, I'll take you. I'll show you where the dumpster was because he was throwing away something. That's led to 13 clients of ours and a huge network. It's all just because if you put the other person's needs ahead of your own and you try to satisfy those needs, great things happen. And God, I'm sorry.
No, and just one quick thing on that. I think also asking questions such as, are you open to our help?
Yeah.
Yep. Does it, what makes sense from here? Some of those that once they talk about pain, once they talk about needs, it just further clarifies, further solidifies that it's now our time to speak, to jump in, and to maybe to give a solution. Because, and just my story just quickly with the listening. Are we truly listening to help? Or are we just being quiet before we push information or ask our question, something that's important to us? And in my story...
Is it genuine or is it a tactic? And I think in the case of your guy, it was a tactic to how I make you feel I'm listening, only to get back to getting my needs met.
Yeah, and it was total... there was a total disconnect there. And I felt, as the buyer, I'm thinking, how in the world did we get the signing? We were just talking about all the things that
went wrong.
That went wrong, and we got back there. So don't be afraid. They seem, kind of rhetorical, but are you open to our help?
One thing Matt always asks, he's really good at, that I'm not as good at asking, is what success look like? Because I think that's a very powerful question for helping the other put their needs first and helping the other decide and actually state what success looks like. Because it's too easy for us to assume what success looks like. But when we ask the other what success look like and they're able to articulate that for us, I think you get great feedback. So that's one thing. The other thing is, think about what great salespeople are at their core. Great salespeople are connectors, right? They connect others to other people. They connect others to solutions. I think ultimately they connect people to success. So, you think about how you can be authentic. And if you take that genuine interest in someone and they say they have a need for something, or you even just hear something that they're doing that sounds like something someone else might need or be interested in, connect them. When you can make those connections, you're building intimacy, you're building relationships, you're putting down roots. So be a connector, connect people to other people, connect them to solutions, and ultimately connect them to success. So
We want to take our question here for this week's mailbag.
one quick thing before we do that is just one last piece on authenticity. Vulnerability is a huge part of authenticity. And, I don't know if you guys know this, Matt. I know you sometimes struggle with this, but we're human. And Matt thinks he's a cyborg, and he's not human many times. But I always have to remind him, Matt, you're human. You're flawed, right? You like when I do that. So we're flawed as humans, right? We have this human condition where we have flaws that others know about. And the longer we go about trying to hide those, the bigger, the thicker the wall is that we're building between us and other people. So if we connect with others, it's okay to let them know that I'm human. It's okay to let them know that we struggled with that too. If you have struggles, let someone know. If you have something that you've gone through in the past, let someone know. I'm always amazed at how if I share something with somebody, a struggle I've had personally or a struggle I've had professionally, they instantly connect to it, right? And it's not that they run from it like, oh, wait, you're flawed, I can't work with you. But the longer you hide those flaws, if they discover them, we don't have that same bonding effect that we do when we reveal them. So be vulnerable. It helps us be authentic. Don't feel like we have to pretend to be perfect. Don't wear that mask that so many of us wear.
Yeah, and authenticity, being genuine, especially with the pandemic and coronavirus. There's so many people that just want to connect and share. And so I think being empathetic plays a very big part in that, as well as, hey, I understand that. I've heard that a lot. I've went through that. I've felt that during these times, but I don't want to get too off topic. I know we have a question.
But I think to that end, and this actually ties into a question that Anthony Williams just asked, and it's as digital meetings become more commonplace, is it more difficult to create these authentic connections? And, part of this virtual world we live in now is, yes, Anthony, I think some of that becomes a little more difficult if we allow it, right? So, the people that come on to meetings with their camera off and, are trying to hide the fact that they have kids, trying to hide the fact that they have pets, the people that are trying to put up that wall, that veneer of perfection and trying to, pretend like we're in the office. For those people, it's more difficult for them to connect. And by the way, that's not a bad thing. That doesn't make you a bad person. Just be aware of it, because I think that's part of people's nature. People that are more naturally introverted, more naturally private, they're not going to have an open screen with their kids running around. Yet, yesterday I was on a meeting with a client of ours, Greg Solometto from Alliance Home Care in New York. And Greg's a great guy, and it was building an incredible organization. And we're having a meeting, and next thing you know, his daughter's sitting on his lap, right? So every time somebody's kid comes into the camera, I stop whatever we're doing. I'm like, oh, who are you? And I said the same thing yesterday. And her name's Chloe. And she couldn't have been any cuter, and she was sweet, and she was engaged, and Greg held her and talked to her, and you could see the love that was there. And you see, that builds intimacy. It doesn't build a wall. So yes, I think it's the easy answer is, oh yeah, it's more difficult to build a relationship during the digital world and this, distance. Where I've found it to be much easier to build a relationship and build intimacy with people if you're open to engaging. I mean, if I was going to Greg's office or Greg was in his conference room and we're having these meetings, would I have ever gotten to see his daughter? Right? Would I ever get that glimpse into his home and into his family? The answer is no. So if you let this be a barrier to you, it's going to be a barrier. If you embrace the reality of our current situation, which is it's screwed up. Right? The reality of our current situation is this is not new and it's not normal, period. So embrace that, and I think it'll help us actually build deeper connections with people. All right.
Going to the question.
Let's
Quickly.
go on to the question then. Why don't we quickly here? Question from one of our listeners. By the way, you can always submit your questions to evan@tallaricogroup.com. Hello, Bill and Matt. Love the show. I find that sometimes when I'm speaking with clients, I try to fill the dead air by saying what I think they want to hear, and this often leads me down the wrong path. How can I keep the conversation going without making assumptions?
How can you do that, Matt?
Well, I think the first thing is silence is not a bad thing, right? So let's be comfortable in silence. And, I think one thing that salespeople do to a fault is answer unasked questions. And so if we find ourselves answering unasked questions, we're on a slippery slope. So, I think oftentimes the best thing to do is be silent and ask a clarifying question. If someone makes a statement, you were talking about a story that you had about the laser and making assumption. Whereas, you want to tell that story quickly?
Sure. I was teasing one of my best friends who's a physical therapist, and I asked him if he had a laser that this other therapist had, and he assumed that I needed that. And he started, and this was on my way in this morning, actually. And this is a gentleman who's been my best friend, one of my best friends since I was 14 years old. So we have a lot of history of 35 years of being mean to each other. And he started asking me we have this. And I said, whoa. I didn't tell you I wanted you to have that laser in your physical therapy clinic. I just asked if you had it.
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you assume it was important to me? He said, well, you asked, so you must have liked it. I said, no, I was just curious. I said, if you would have asked a confirming question back to me, like, tell me about the experience with the laser. How'd you feel after the laser? What you think about the laser? You would have heard me say, I don't know if it did anything for me, right? I mean, I felt better when I left that day, but I don't know if it was the laser, the TENS unit, the ice, the Aleve I took before I came. I don't know what it was, but you just assumed I needed to have the laser. So it's that assumptions we make when people ask us a question or when there's that dead space. Don't assume. A good friend of mine who's sitting to my right likes to say, always confirm, never assume. And when you find yourself going down the assumption path, think about, did I get this direct feedback, or is this my head trash and my assumption that's making me think this is important? So one way to fill that, Evan, one way to handle that is to make sure we're asking confirming and clarifying questions. And remember, a great question's never the wrong answer. So whenever we're in a situation where we don't know what to say to fill that space, or we receive an objection, or we receive some feedback from somebody, we don't have to jump to thinking we need to have the perfect answers. That's more of that just garbage we carry that says we have to be perfect. No. Ask more, find out more, care about somebody enough to give them an opportunity to tell you what they're really thinking.
Wow, thank you for that. Tell me more.
Yeah. What was your experience with that? Sounds like you have experience with blank. And it's those invitations to conversation that we can leave somewhat pregnant, and then let people respond, because that first question is rarely the real question. People are trying to build up their bravery and their courage to say what's really on their hearts, and we need to be in the moment. We need to be loving enough to let them do that. So, Evan, does that answer our viewers' question, you think?
I would hope so. I think you guys did a great job answering that. Very comprehensive.
All right.
Very informative.
Anything else for us to process today, or we moving on? All
That's
right.
it.
Well, as always, we'd love to answer your questions, because I think that's the most powerful thing we can do. Matt and I could sit up here for 4 or 5 hours at a time and wax philosophical for sure, but it's much more important when we answer your questions and give you some ability to go be practical today. So please share the questions you have regarding sales, leadership. I don't know how much life advice we can give you, but we'll be happy to listen to them. At evan@tallaricogroup.com. That's Evan, EVAN @tallaricogroup.com. We'll be sure to get those on future shows. And as always, we really appreciate the time you give us and being with us. Thank you all. Have a great week, and God bless you.
Thank you.